In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with Earth Engine image. So first, you can go to the URL tutorials.gmap.org, and then from there, click image overview. So this is the example we're going to use. You can download this one to your computer. So just click the icon upper right corner, download notebooks. And then you can navigate to a folder where you want to save the notebooks. So I'm going to go to my documents folder, GE, and then just click save. So it should be saved right now onto your computer. So next, you need to open Anaconda. So in the previous tutorial, I already showed you how to install Miniconda and also create the environment. If you have not done that, you can go to my YouTube channel to follow the tutorial to install the package required for this tutorial. So I'm going to go to the start menu, Anaconda, and then Anaconda prompt. Then I can Anaconda activate GE. Okay, so this is the environment, the name of the environment that we created in the previous tutorial. And once you activate, you can type Jupyter Notebook to open the notebook on your browser. So once it's open, let me maximize. Then you can go to the folder, and so is it here? Oh, not this one. It's under documents, and then GE. Okay, so this one, image overview. Once it's open, then on the left side here is the table of contents. So this is the Jupyter Notebook extension we also installed last time. So you can click this one to check the table content if you want. So, and we're going to go through the source code here by individually for each section. First, I would like to point you to, if you want to read more information, you can go to the Earth Engine documentation. So you can just click the link here to go to the Earth Engine webpage. So the documentation on the left side here, you will see a comprehensive list of documentation for each object. So for example, image collection. But today we're just going to cover here the image overview and also some part of the image visualization. In the next video, I'm going to show you more how you can manipulate Earth Engine image. So if you click here, overview, you can also click this one, image visualization. So you can read through if you want. Keep that in mind here, the Earth Engine documentation, the examples are provided in JavaScript. So I'm showing you how to use Python and Gmap. So the syntax is very similar. There's some minor differences. So if you read the documentation, if you can understand it, you should be able to also understand Python. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about image. And so image basically is raster data. In traditional GIS and remote sensing software, raster basically you can think about TIFF, GeoTIFF, or ODAS imaging, right? Like, so those are some of the common raster data format. But in Earth Engine, there's no file extension, so it's just an Earth Engine object, and it's just a bunch of pixels. So within the image, then we can, for example, since you cannot, like, the data is not hosted on a local computer, so we need some way actually to find out where the data is located and how can we actually reference the data. So in Earth Engine, every image has an image ID, so it basically a unique ID that you can reference the image. And then once you have the ID, you can do all kinds of stuff. Just think about, like, everyone has a name, right? Or social security number, for example, in the US, and that number is unique. Once you get that number, you know who that person is, where, and then you can just reference that person. So next, let's go through here. First of all, you need to install the package Gmap. If you have not done this before, follow my previous tutorial. So next, then we can just import the libraries. We need the Earth Engine library and also the Gmap. So here first, I'm just going to show you how we can load a single band image, right? So an image is a single image, but the image can have one band or multi-spectral bands, right? So it depends on the data set that you are using. But first of all, I'm just going to create an interactive map, right? So if you already know the ID, you can just directly reference the ID. But in this case here, if you don't know, like you just get started with Earth Engine, you don't know where actually to find data, you can just simply create the interactive map and then click the icon upper left corner, click data. So from here you can search all kind of data set, for example lane set, sentinel, lane cover, elevation, anything. So I'm just going to type elevation, hit enter, and then it's going to return a list of available data set in the Earth Engine data catalog. Once the list is pop up, then you can go, for example in this case I'm going to use SRTM. So you just click SRTM, and then so you can see the a thumbnail of the image, but you can also see the ID, so the unique ID here, ee.image. So this is the ID that we want. You can also click the link to navigate to the Earth Engine data catalog webpage. In here you can see more information, for example data availability, who provides the data, and also the unique ID. Also, for example, description and also citation. There's also some example here in JavaScript that you can use. So but in here, because we're using Python, so we just go, let me do a search again here, click the button, and then yeah, elevation, and again I'm just going to select SRTM. So here there's a button import, and if you scroll down, scroll up, right now there's let me add a new cell in here. There's nothing in here yet. So if I do a search elevation and then just click SRTM, hit import, right? Once you have this one, then you can directly just execute, right? So, or you can also change the name of the variable, because this is the unique ID of the image, and then we can assign this one to a variable. Then we can just add this one to the maps. Okay, so for example I can just change to DM, and then this one needs to be the same, right? DM, shift enter, then you can add this one to the map. So this is how you can quickly search the Earth Engine data catalog and then add data to the map easily. But as you can see, there's right now is a simple gray color. It doesn't look very well, so we need to somehow visualize the data set. How can you do that? You just need to click the icon upper right corner here, and then click the layers icon. From here you can turn the layer on and off. You can also scroll left and right. So if you want to change the visualization, you can click the settings button, and from here because this is only one band, so it's only, we can just select one, but you can certainly change the elevation. So for example I can change before you do that, let me show you. You might want to inspect the pixel values, because it's a TM, but you might not know what's the value range, right? So is it like 1 meter, 10 meter, 1000 meter? How do you know? You can click the icon here, inspector. So if you click this one and then just click on the map, you should be able to see the elevation value, like for each pixel where you click. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. Why do we need this? Because later when we set the visualization, you need to provide the minimum and maximum. So with that, then you can visualize the data in a much better contrast. So for example, you can see thousands. They say maybe 2,000, 3,000. It depends on the location. If you move to other location, for example, this might be 4,000 or 5,000. So all you need to do, come here and then click the settings again, and then from here the range. So this is where you can make adjustments. So I can just change to maybe, they say 3,000 or 4,000, something like that. And for the minimum, you can also change maybe to some other values, but I'm just going to leave as 0. And then maybe for the Y, I can use the slider. I can also go here, double click. I can also change maybe to 3,500. Hit enter. You can also set this one. And then from here, if you don't need the color, you can just hit apply. As you can see right now, it's at least it's much better than the original gray color. If you want some color, you can click here. Depends on how many classes you want. So this is so-called the palette. It's how we can visualize Earth Engine. Depends on how we specify, right? So we can have the minimum, maximum. you can also change the opacity. So if I change and then hit apply, it's changed the opacity. So I'm going to change it back. You can also just here change the color map. So there are more than 260 color map that you can choose from. I can maybe show you here just the last one, right? And all you need to do, once you select this one, the palette is going to be populated with the number of color maps in here. So this is all the color, basically the gradient of this one. So in order to create this one, you will need this palette, right? So these are all the hex color code, 6 digits. Once you have this one, just hit apply, then you should have this one. So pretty simple, right? You don't need to write any code, but you can visualize the data very easily. If this is too much, or if you want some other things, for example, I can maybe change to 9 classes, and then from here you can also change to whatever you want. I can just hit apply, then it's automatically reapply and give you the new color map. I can change it to maybe oranges, right? Apply. There are all kind of color you can do. For example, I can go to 12 and hit apply. That's it. So it's very easy to do. After that, if you want to, for example, want to see what the source code behind, right? So once you change all the visualization parameters, you might want to save this, because sometimes when you are playing with it, with that, and once you find the optimal settings, you want to keep this one so that you don't, next time you don't have to come to the interface to make adjustments. So it'd be nice that you can transform what is doing in here to source code. You can. So all you need to do is just click the import button. So pay attention to the to here. Right now it's not there. So once you click import, it's going to create this line of code in here. And so this one right now looks pretty long. I maybe let me change to something else. Maybe just 5 classes. Hit enter. And then so let me import again. So this one is a bit shorter because the palette depends on the number of classes you have. So right, this is 5. You're going to have 5 colors, and this is the gradient of those 5 colors. But you also have the bands, right? So this is only one band. It's going to be elevation, and then palette, and then the minimum, right? Maximum, opacity, and gamma. So these are all the parameters that we use in here. Then if we want to do that like programmatically, then you can just add this one to the map. So let me delete this one in here, and we can start over again. So if you want, but this is basically the one that you can. I also have something else in here, right? So it's the same thing, right? You have bands, you have minimum, you have maximum, you have palettes, right? So this is what you can do. You can use the interface to play with the symbology, and then once you find out the base one, then you click import. Once it is import, then you can keep this one for future use. Okay, so I'm just going to do it one more time. For example, once I have the interactive map, let me delete this one yet. So this is the delete the other two. So this is the DM that we're going to use, and so by default it's going to just add the DM that we used earlier, right? So it's not looking very good. So all we need to do is just to set the visualization parameters. So minimum, maximum, also palettes, gamma, and others. Those are optional, so you don't really have to do that. It's up to you, right? So once you set this one, as you can see right now, this is a much better visualization compared to the gray scale. So like simple and easy to do. Again, once you have this one, you can still customize. So you can click the layers icon. You can come here. You can still use, for example, the layer visualization. Once it is open, by default, it's going to add this one, the color bar here, color ramp here to the map. So if you close, it's going to close. So this is how you can load a single band image to the map. Okay, all you need to do, do the search, and then once you add the map, then click this one, use the inspector to evaluate the values, and then you can change the settings, right? You can make adjustment. Very easy. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how you can load a multi-band image, right? So for elevation or temperature or others, you might only have one band, but for other satellite data you might have multi-spectral bands. So In this case, we're going to use lane set data. So let me just execute this code block, and again by default it's going to load the image. So this is the lane set image ID. You will see here basically it's a hierarchical structure. So you have the sensor, and then the satellite, and then the sensor, and then different collection. For example, this is collection 01, surface reflectance data. So this will be the ID of the image. As you can see, it belongs to lane set 8, and this is the date of the image, 2014 March 18, right? So once you have the image, then we can add the image to the map. Okay, you can also have the center object. So center object, that means once the map is loaded, you want it to be centered around this image. So this is what essentially what this is doing. Once you have the map, you need to come to here again. You can use the inspector to take a look at the values, right? So if you click here, you have all the bands values for each individual spectral band. So you can see the value range from, for example, 0 to 10,000, 10,000, because Earth Engine rescale the value to integer. But if you know remote sensing surface reflectance is 0 to 1, right? It's being rescaled to actually to save the data storage. And so in order to, but there's very few pixels, you're going to reach 100% reflectance. So most likely you can just maybe 30%, 40% should be sufficient. If you click here, you will see it loads up pretty much all low values. So next, let's come back to here, click this icon, and then we can make adjustments. So for example, depends on what kind of bands you want to display. So if I want first color composite, so first color in lane set 8, it will be 5, 4, and 3, right? So right now I can simply just hit apply. You see this totally white color. Why? Because the value range is just way too small. So if you make adjustment, change it to be larger, right? Let's say maybe 3,000 or something. You can double click if you want the exact number. So 3,000, and then hit enter. You will see here much better. So right now this is a big contrast to the one we saw you earlier. Much better. You can also change the opacity if you want, right? Apply. Again, you can hit the import button. So once I click the import button, this is what is the source code behind the scenes. So how you can change the visualization. And as you can see, this one is the same as this one I wrote earlier. So the interface is just to help you to visualize interactively. But once you find out the optimal settings, you want to save that one, then you can just hit import, and then it's there. So next, I can still run this one if I want, right? It's going to add that one to the map. Okay, so this is the original one, but because we already changed the visualization settings, so right now it looks better than the one we used earlier. Okay, so this is the how you can load multi-band image to the map. And the next one, I'm going to show you how you can get image properties. So basically the metadata, because each image has some data, metadata associated with the image. So when it was acquired, what's the cloud coverage, and what's the, for example, the sensor, all kind of information. So how can you get that? There's one function here in Gmap that gets you everything you need. So again, you can assign the image to a variable, and then you pass in the variable to this function. So image props, and you can just shift enter to execute. Once you have this one is a Earth Engine dictionary. So in order to see the content within that dictionary, you need to use the .get info. If you don't, you just use this one, and then you hit shift enter. It's just showing you something like this. So this is basically a server-side object, so it's in the cloud. In order to see what's inside that, you need to basically open it. And to open it, you need to use the .get info function. So .get info is basically to ask Earth Engine to return the server-side object to your client, to your local computer, and then open it to see what's inside. So if you hit shift enter, then you will see all the information here. Still, it's a dictionary. So the dictionary means you have a key and then also you have a value. So it's a number of pairs of key and value. So for example, this image cloud cover 0.006, so that means the cloud cover is 6%. You can also see, for example, the spatial resolution, nominal scale 30, right? So Landsat is 30 meter, satellite. Also sensor time, for example, 2014 March 18, right? You can see all kind of means, also pass and roll. Also the size, how big is the image. So this is 540 megabyte. Also what kind of band names are associated with the image. So as you can see, right, 540 megabyte, but we haven't really downloaded anything to our computer. So it's much better that in here we just use a browser and then you can access to any data without downloading. So big plus. Okay, and so this is how you can get the metadata. Next, I'm going to show you how you can get select image bands. If you look at the Landsat data, we have B1 and then all the way to B11, but sometimes if you just want a specific number of bands that you want to use, for other bands you don't need that. You don't need to load the entire image. So what we can do is just use the select. So again, we use the same line of code actually to refer to the image, and then you can use the dot select. So dot select within the parentheses is you can put just one single string. For example, if you want a single band, they say B5, then you just put B5. But in this case, you can also put a list, right? Within a list, you can put a number of strings separated by comma. So single quotes B5, that means we're going to select B5, B4, and B3. You can select more bands if you want, but so here we're just going to select 3 bands, and then you can add those 3 bands to the maps, right? So again, but we use the same visualization parameters that we use here earlier in this image. Okay, so you can just add this one, right? And then we change the layer name to Landsat B543. If you click the layer icon, okay, you can turn the other off. Okay, so this is the one that we just added, and now this one only has 3 bands, right? So if you zoom in and zoom out, you can also if you want to customize, you can do that. So click this one, and now you see here you only have 3 bands, right? Compared to the original image, you have all the bands available. So let me show you here, this one, the original one. Okay, so this is the original one. You have all the spectral bands of the image. Okay, so how to select the bands. Also, you can rename the bands if you want. This is very much similar to selecting bands, but there are 2 parameters you can provide, right? So the first part here is to do the selection, and then the second part is the new names you want to use. So names one by one, so they need to be the same length. So you have 3 items within the list. In here, I will also have 3 items in the list, right? So I'm going to change B5 to NIR, near infrared, B4 to red, and then B3 to green. Once you have those new names, you can also print out the names if you want, right? So Earth Engine has a function that you can apply to an image. So it's called band names parenthesis execute. Right, so this is right now you see the new names. If you want to see the original names, you can, right? So image dot band names parentheses. Also make sure that you use get info, otherwise you won't see anything. You will just be e.list. So this is still like a black box in the server. So in order to view that, you need to get info to see what's inside. As you can see, the original image has more bands than what we need, right? So in this case, we just select 3 bands and then convert them to the other 3 bands. In here, you can actually add more bands. So I can, for example, add B2, right? So B2, and then I can change this one. So B2 is blue band. So blue, and then shift enter, right? This one will be the same, but the next one, you're going to have more, right? So this is very flexible. You can easily customize your source code to make it work for you. Okay, last one, how to add a legend. Once you add some data to the map, sometimes it would be nice to have some legend, especially if you have a categorical map, for example, lane cover, lane use. You might want to show that because people not familiar with remote sensing data, they might not have a good idea like what each color represent. So next, let me execute this code block. So this is the lane set, national lane cover database in the US. So basically it's lane cover. So still very much similar, right? So this is the image ID, right? So this is the entire image, but this image has multi bands, and the lane cover, the name of the lane cover band is called single code lane cover. If you want to know all the bands, you can also do this one. So let me see here, copy this one. I can show you in here. So this is the image. Again, you just dot band names dot parenthesis, and then at the end get info. Shift enter. You should be able to see all the bands, right? So there are more bands than we need. We just need this one. We just need the lane cover band. And once you select this one, it becomes a single band. Then we can add this single band to the map. In here, if we don't provide the parameter, it's going to use its default color map. Sometimes some image already has a default setting. So in this case, it's already, the color is already set, so we don't need to change anything. And you can set the name. So this is the name of the layer we're going to use, and this is the key that we want to add, how to add the legend to the map. Okay, because it's lane set national lane cover data, it's a very common one. So I already have a built-in legend, so it's called NLCD. But you can also customize if you have a customized data that you want to show. You can also customize. But in this simple example, I'm just going to use the built-in one, and also the layer name. So this one is important in order to link this legend to the name, so that when you turn on and off, for example, if I come back, let me maximize. So if I turn the layer on and off, right? If I turn off, the legend is also off. If I turn on, it's on again. So this is very important if you want to link the legend with the map. So you need to put the layer name. If you don't put this one, the legend will always be on. So it cannot be turned off unless you write some source code. So make sure you also use this one. And here it will be very useful because you have the legend here. People can just correspond, right? So I can also go here, click the icon to do the inspector. If you click, I mean full screen, right? You can click any pixel. Look at this one here, the lane cover, right? 82. And then you can scroll down to the bottom here. 82 means cultivated by crops, right? You can zoom out, you can zoom in. You can, for example, click here, 41. So 41 is decidual forest, right? So you can inspect the pixel values and then check that with the icon here with the laser. So this is to be something useful that you can use. I'm going to turn the layer off if you don't need the layer. Okay, that's all for this tutorial. And just to recap what we did, right? We did load a single band image and also multi-band, and how to get the image metadata, show the image metadata. You can also select a portion of the bands you need, and you can also rename the bands. After that, if you have some categorical data, you can add the legend to the map. So this is all very straightforward and simple stuff. You can use Google Earth Engine to load any data you want. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to manipulate the image, how you can do, for example, do clipping, masking, something like that. So I will see you in the next video. Take care.